The limit mate allows you to define a range of motion for a component. By specifying a minimum and maximum position, you can define either a linear or angular range of motion. In this case, I'd like to establish a range of motion for this simplified piston assembly. If I move the rod, you can see it is already centered in the cylinder using a concentric mate. However, notice the rod is free to slide completely out of the cylinder, and it can also overlap the cylinder at the bottom of the stroke. To eliminate these problems, I'll insert a mate. Expand the Advanced Mates section and select the distance icon. Before entering any distance values, I'll select the two entities I wish to mate. I'll select the bottom face of the rod and the bottom of the cylinder. The rod moves to show a preview of the distance currently set in the Property Manager. In addition to a distance, you'll see there are two other fields I can define, the maximum and minimum values. For a minimum value, I'll enter 5 millimeters and 100 millimeters for the maximum. As with the regular distance mate, you can use the Flip Dimension checkbox to move the rod to the other side. I'll click OK, and the limit mate is complete. Now as I drag the rod, you can see it will stop when it reaches the end of the range I've defined. One word of caution. If you select 2 points or vertices as the entities to mate, the resulting behavior of a limit mate will be quite different. Let me edit the definition of the limit mate and clear the two faces selected. Now, instead, I'll select 2 vertices to mate. I'll set the maximum distance to 20 and the minimum distance to 0. Watch what happens now as I drag the rod. Instead of stopping when the 2 vertices are at the distance of 0, the rod continues to move. The reason is that when 2 vertices are selected, instead of using distance values only in a single direction, the range will cover both possible solutions, 0 to 20 in one direction, as well as 0 to 20 in the opposite direction. This behavior only occurs when points or vertices are selected, so it's easy to avoid this by just selecting faces or planes. In addition to using the distance option to establish a range of motion, you can also use the angle option. Here the second cylinder is mated such that it pivots about an edge. Before applying a limit mate, the components are free to pass through each other. I'll insert a mate, expand the Advanced Mates section, and select Angle. I'll select the 2 flat faces as the entities to mate, and enter the maximum and minimum values as 120 and 0. Now the components can only move within this range.